Helen Keller. Helen Adams Keller was born on June 27, 1880, Tuscumbia, Alabama, USA. She was an American author and educator who was blind and deaf. Her education and training represent an extraordinary accomplishment in the education of persons with these disabilities. Keller was afflicted at the age of 19 months with an illness, possibly scarlet fever, that left her blind and deaf. She was examined by Alexander Graham Bell at the age of 6. As a result, he sent to her a 20-year-old teacher, Anne Sullivan Macy, from the Perkins Institution for the Blind in Boston, which Bell's son-in-law directed. Sullivan, a remarkable teacher, remained with Keller from March 1887 until her own death in October 1936. Within months, Keller had learned to feel objects and associate them with words spelled out by finger signals on her palm, to read sentences by feeling raised words on cardboard, and to make her own sentences by arranging words in a frame. During 1888-90 she spent winters at the Perkins Institution learning Braille. Then she began a slow process of learning to speak under Sarah Fuller of the Horace Mann School for the Deaf, also in Boston. She also learned to lip read by placing her fingers on the lips and throat of the speaker while the words were simultaneously spelled out for her. At age 14 she enrolled in the Wright Humason School for the Deaf in New York City, and at 16 she entered the Cambridge School for Young Ladies in Massachusetts. She won admission to Radcliffe College in 1900 and graduated cum laude in 1904. Having developed skills never approached by any similarly disabled person, Keller began to write of blindness, a subject then taboo in women's magazines because of the relationship of many cases to venereal disease. Edward W. Bach accepted her articles for the Ladies' Home Journal, and other major magazines like The Century, McClure's, and The Atlantic Monthly. She wrote of her life in several books, including The Story of My Life, Optimism, The World I Live In, Light in My Darkness and My Religion, Helen Keller's Journal, and The Open Door. In 1913 she began lecturing, with the aid of an interpreter, primarily on behalf of the American Foundation for the Blind, for which she later established a $2 million endowment fund, and her lecture tours took her several times around the world. She co-founded the American Civil Liberties Union with American civil rights activist Roger Nash Baldwin and others in 1920. Her efforts to improve treatment of the deaf and the blind were influential in removing the disabled from asylums. She also prompted the organization of commissions for the blind in 30 states by 1937. Keller's childhood training with Sullivan was depicted in William Gibson's play The Miracle Worker, which won the Pulitzer Prize in 1960 and was subsequently made into a motion picture, starring Anne Bancroft as Sullivan and Patty Duke as Keller, that won 2 Academy Awards.